What is up, friends? Okay, so today's video, we're going to do a video on insulation. Pink stuff back there. So previously, we installed the heater. The garage was 31 degrees when I woke up this morning at 8 a.m. The heater has gotten it up to 53 by 11 a.m., so 3 hours, 22 degrees. Not too bad. It's about 20 degrees outside. I am a little baby and I want it to be warmer though. So the next thing we're gonna do is install the insulation. So we have the insulation over here. I'm gonna throw up the time lapse and then we're gonna get it in along the walls. It should be pretty straightforward and easy. We already have all the wiring run. I don't plan on running any more wiring in the walls. There will be a window over there, so that will need done at some point, but I'm not gonna put the insulation in that spot. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all, and I'm ready to get started on installation. So the first step, as always, is to figure out what parts we need. Figured insulation would be pretty easy. Just get some pink stuff, put it in the walls, call it a day. Then I looked it up and realized there are so many options. I looked into spray foam, blown in, batt, and roll insulation. First off, spray foam, whenever I looked it up, the first picture I see is a box that says professional use only. And then a couple pictures over, it's this guy dressed in a hazmat suit using what looks like 2 propane tanks to spray insulation all over the inside of his garage. I figured that might not be the best idea for the first time I try and insulate something. So the next is blown in insulation. Looks like pink snow. You have to have 2 people to do it. One loads a bag of the pink snow in the machine. The other one takes a hose and you blow it all over the place wherever you need the insulation. I've only seen online it advertised for attics. I know you can get some for walls, or at least used to be able to, but we're going to use it for our attic in an upcoming video. But for our walls, that left us with batt or roll insulation. The material is very similar, if not the same, depending on what form you read. The main difference between them is the batts come in pieces. You can get them in different lengths, such as 4 foot or 8 foot, and the rolls come in one continuous piece in different lengths, such as 25 or 32 foot. I felt the roll would be the easiest to use, so that's what I went with. Once I chose that I was going to go with roll insulation, I had to still decide between several options. So looking at this label, a couple things I looked at was the thickness. So I was using 2x4 studs. There are also 2x6 studs, and then some insulations are thicker for attic use. We're going to be doing the walls, and they are 2x4s, so we're going to get the 3.5 inch thick insulation. So next, looking at width, most people either have 16-inch on center studs, which they will want a 15-inch wide insulation, or if you have 24-inch on center studs, you can get 24-inch wide insulation. We have 16-inch on center studs, so we got the 15-inch insulation. So the next thing is R value. The higher the number, the more your room will be insulated. So there was this map online paired with this chart that showed me exactly what weather band I was in and what insulation I would need for my walls. So we said before we have 2x4 walls. It said it recommends a R13 to an R15. Like I said, the higher the number, the better insulation. So we went with R15. After you have your insulation picked out, it's now just cutting and a little bit of stapling. So if you have 2 studs where there's nothing in between, no wire, outlet, switches, anything, just have to cut it to length and then you put it in. Otherwise, if you have a wire going through, you cut a little slit where the wire will be so the insulation doesn't bend when it's pressed up against the wire. It kind of forms around it. And if you have an outlet or switch box, you just cut out around the outlet or around the switch box and install the insulation. You could use spray foam around the outlet box to provide a little bit more insulation. We did not in my case. Alright, so we took a break from insulation because as I said, we were going to put a window there. So, voila! Now there's a window there. If you want to see how that was done, and it's still not completely done, but if you want to watch that, that'll be a completely different video. What we will do here is we will fill those 4 spots. Now we can cut those, fill that insulation, that'll be perfect. I didn't want to open another roll of insulation and just be laying around while we were putting the window in. So once we open it and fill those gaps, we'll also fill 1, 2, 3 right there. That'll be done. And then we also have up here. So this is the stairs and the door to get in the house. It's a detached garage from the house, so it doesn't share a wall with it, but there is a breezeway or walkway that's totally sealed. So we're going to insulate this, and we're going to use that for the ceiling insulation as well, just because there's not a lot of room. It has 2x4s, so we're going to stick it up there as well. And then we will be completely done with wall insulation. We will still have to do the ceiling insulation, but before that's done, I'll have to get all the drywall up there because we're going to do blown in ceiling insulation, and it needs something to sit on. But I'll get the time lapse set back up and we can finish all this insulation out and the garage will be nice and warm. If you have any insulation you're installing along a ceiling, I know this video really isn't for ceiling insulation and we're gonna do blow-in, but along the ceiling where we had the stairs, we installed it, we pressed it up, and then we had to staple it to the side of the ceiling joist, and that's so when we put the drywall up, the staples won't be in the way of screwing in the drywall or making the drywall nice and flat. Time to break down cost. This video is pretty simple. Like we said, all we needed was insulation and some staples. So staples, we'll say $5. Insulation for my 24 by 24 garage, doing the walls and the little breezeway, which is about 5 foot by 4 foot. I needed 18 rolls of R15 insulation. Each roll was $25, so it cost me about $450 in insulation. So let's say $455 to insulate the walls and walkway of my garage. So the insulation is done, and I wanted to give you guys a close-up look at some of the stuff we talked about. So, good example on the staples, like I said, ceiling. So this just doesn't, there we go. So this just doesn't fall back out. We have staples along the edge. So those are holding this up here, so this isn't just gonna fall back out. The drywall will also hold that up, but wanted to show that. An example of an outlet cover. So this, I guarantee this has wires behind it. Actually, let's take a look. There's no wires behind it. So this would be an example of just one sheet. You have to cut the length. We did have to cut an angle. And then as you push this in here, it just stays. I'm going to push that a little bit more. You don't want to completely flatten it against, because then your insulation won't work. You want to get the right size and put it in there the right way, which is this. So then we talked about outlets. This actually has a lot of wires behind it as well, but you can see, and since it does, I'm not going to pull this one out, but you can see we cut around the outlet. So we cut around right here. There's nice space for the insulation to go in. Now for wires, let's randomly lift up one of these. This one looks good. It has, so this one right here has the outlet. Like I said, we cut around it, and then it should be slit in the back to allow this to go around the wires. Let's take a look. Oh, we're gonna shove it in here nicely. And there it is. So there's a slit right here and the wires right here. So when we push this back, this just seals around. It's not crumpled up right here because then you'll lose some insulation. There'll be some air behind there and the insulation will be scrunched up here. This way, cut around, allows the insulation to form around it. You'll get a nice good seal. At least that's what they say online. Last piece I figured I'd show, pretty simple piece. It's just you have to cut around it like a jigsaw puzzle. So we have all these other 2x4s that were put here for a brace, probably not even needed, but I didn't want to remove them, so we just cut around them. So you see the little flap here, cut here, flap here, and then everything fits very nicely. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something, or you saw something you're like, I'm not gonna do that. But either way, hopefully you got something from the video. Like, subscribe, comment. I finally learned all the 3 things. See you for the next one.